Greetings and salutations, everyone.
Yeah.
I am Kiera Gordon Mccray. My government name is Kiera Gordon. That's where I learned what being the only girl in the family meant because my first cousin, my Uncle Tony, Uncle Peanut, all these children got Mccray last name. I was the only grandchild that had a different last name. So I remember coming home one day and telling my mother I wanted my name changed. And she was like, you can't change your name. That's your father's legacy. And I was like, but all your last name is Mccray. And she was like, yes, that's your name, but your legacy is also Mccray. You are Mccray. You live in the Mccray household. You have the Mccray values. And so my grandfather's accident was in 1988. I was born in 1991. So we had a very special and peculiar relationship. The joke in our family was my grandfather watched me while I watched him. Because of that experience, I gained a lot of responsibility at a very early age, and I'm very grateful for that. I don't know who I would be if that was not the legacy that I walked into. I got my first key to 9352 at 7 years old. Because my grandmother was asleep when I was coming home from school, and I had to get in the house. And so that was my introduction of responsibility. You take care of the things that are given to you. You only get one of them. You don't know when the next one will come. So I learned a lot about my grandfather directly and indirectly. I learned a lot of things from him directly and indirectly. And primarily and indirectly came from his children. My cousin Doug, his wife. I was covered as a young girl, and I'm still covered as a grown woman from the things that he taught and instilled into the men in his life. I'm still single to this day because I say my grandfather didn't raise these men. My cousin Eric is somewhere in here, and we have a joke, and he said, you can't blame them because they didn't have a granddaddy. And I'm like, I can't, but it's the truth. And so I'm grateful that I, particularly at this day and age, as a 32, I'll be 33-year-old woman, got to experience my grandfather down to his days of transitioning. I went to go visit him, and his roommate was talking to me one too much. And I said, I'm trying to talk to my granddad, and he kept talking, and my granddad said, hey, she said she done now. I said, oh, all right now. Scared of what you was doing before this. So I'll wrap this up by saying I am grateful that God chose me to be a part of this here family, the Mccray household. Granny, I love you so much. You are, you my girl. I got you forever and ever and ever. If you didn't teach me anything, you taught me what being a good wife looks like outside of what the world may say it should look like. I don't know anybody as strong as you. I've never heard my grandmother curse. I've never heard her use any foul language towards my grandfather. I never heard her belittle him. I never heard her minimize who he was as a man prior to. I never saw her drink. I've never seen her smoke anything of any kind. My grandmother is a woman, I don't even know if they make women like you know her. I don't know if they make a woman like you ever. Like, you might be one of them. And so, I'm grateful for that. You still served him, you were kind, you were gentle, you were compassionate, you had to get home to your husband. We had to leave, honey. The event, I had to get home to my husband, I have to feed my husband. Okay, so to this day, any man that comes into my presence gets a plate because my grandmother taught me that you feed the men that you care about.
That's right.
I can go on and on and on and on because I got 30 years and I was there for real. As I said, I got key to 9352 at 7 years old. The last thing I will say about 9352 is I opened a company recently 3 years ago. My company is named 9352 Health and Wellness. And that was very specific. When God told me that was the next thing he wanted me to do, I'm like, okay, so what do I name it? At this point, I went to business schools, I understand that names matter, yada, 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 yada. I was in prayer, and 9352 dropped into my spirit. I asked my grandmother how she felt about it. She said yes. The reason behind that is because the message behind my company is sustaining your mental health, sustaining your bandwidth as you adapt through life and you go through change. I specialize in behavior modification, and I don't think that I would be able to do that if I did not watch my grandmother pivot and adjust. That's what we do in the Mccray household. So thank you for listening. I know I went over my 2 minutes, but I'm plugged in, so I can do that. Granny, family, your legacy, it is very important. You touch a lot of people in a lot of ways, directly and indirectly, just by the bloodline that you created. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for paying your respects to my family and my grandmother, my grandfather,